You've probably heard a ton about probiotics, right? These little friendly bacteria that are supposed to be amazing for our gut health. But here's the catch, and it's a big one. Most of them are incredibly fragile. It's like sending a team of medics into a war zone with absolutely no protection. So today, we're going to dive into some mind-blowing new research that's literally building them a suit of armor.
I mean, think about that for a second. How on earth do you build a suit of armor for something thousands of times smaller than a single grain of sand? It sounds like something straight out of science fiction, but a team of scientists figured out a way to do it, creating this biological body armor one tiny cell at a time. They've essentially turned a regular bacterium into a super soldier for your gut.
Okay, so before we get into exactly how they built this armor, we need to understand the battlefield. Let's talk about the incredibly dangerous, almost impossible journey a probiotic has to survive just to get where it needs to go. The specific condition these researchers were focused on is called ulcerative colitis, or UC for short. This is a really serious inflammatory bowel disease. It causes painful, long-term damage inside the digestive tract, and for a lot of people, the current treatments can have some pretty rough side effects. That's why finding a better, safer way to treat it is so important.
And this brings us to the core problem. Probiotics could be an amazing solution for something like UC, but our own digestive system, well, it's their worst enemy. The acid in our stomach is basically a chemical death trap that just annihilates the vast majority of these good bacteria long before they can reach the intestines where they could actually do some good.
So how do you get these microscopic medics past the enemy lines? Well, you give them armor. And that's exactly what the researchers did. They developed this brilliant two-layer defense system made completely from food-grade materials. The whole process is called hierarchical arming. It's a three-step build. First, they put these little chemical hooks all over the probiotic surface. Then, using a really cool technique called click chemistry, they snap on the first layer of armor, this flexible coating of beta-glucan, which is a natural fiber you find in things like oats. Finally, they wrap that whole thing in a tough outer shell made from a soy protein network. Think of it like giving each tiny soldier a flexible Kevlar vest and then a hard outer suit of armor on top of that.
Now, I know this diagram looks a little intense at first glance, but it's basically the assembly line. Up on the top left, you've got your raw materials, the probiotic, LX, and the bits and pieces of the armor. Just follow the arrows, and you can see how they attach that first flexible layer and then that final soy protein shell. The end product, way over on the right, is the fully armored probiotic, what they call LX at GN at SPI.
And this slide right here is the proof. Forget all the other data for a second and just look at the microscope images at the bottom. On the left, you see the naked probiotic. See how it's kind of lumpy and exposed? But now look at the one on the right, the armored version. It's this perfectly smooth, protected sphere, totally engineered for the journey ahead. The difference is just, it's incredible to see.
So, the armor looks amazing, but does it actually do its job? The next step, naturally, was to put these little armored soldiers through a brutal obstacle course, designed to be just like the human digestive system.
And the results are, well, they speak for themselves. Check out this chart. When they were exposed to simulated stomach acid for just 2 hours, less than 10% of the normal, unprotected probiotics made it. The single-layer armor helped a bit. Survival jumped to about 22%. But that dual-layer armor, it was the clear champion, with a 45% survival rate. That is a massive, massive improvement in the number of troops actually making it to the target zone.
Okay, so surviving the trip is one thing. But can these armored probiotics actually do their job and heal the gut once they get there? To find out, the researchers moved on to testing them in mice with ulcerative colitis.
This image is just so cool. What the researchers did was tag the armored probiotics with a dye that makes them glow. So, if you look at that middle panel labeled intestine, you can see that bright glowing signal. That's them. This shows, hours later, that the probiotics are concentrated right in the gut, exactly where they need to be to start fighting that inflammation. And the numbers totally back this up. After a full 24 hours, the armored probiotics had a retention rate in the gut 4 times higher than the unprotected ones. So not only do they survive the journey, they actually stick around to finish the mission.
And this slide right here is the most powerful evidence of all. Just focus on row E. The column labeled Model shows colon tissue from a mouse with really bad UC. You can just see how damaged and inflamed it is. But then, look all the way to the right at the column labeled LR at GN at SPI. This is the tissue after treatment with the armored probiotics. The structure is back, it looks healthy, almost completely normal. It's a truly remarkable recovery.
But wait, it gets even better. The effect wasn't just about treatment, it was also preventative. They ran another test where they gave the armored probiotics before they induced colitis, and it significantly protected the mice from even developing the disease. So it works as both a cure and a shield.
So we know it works, but why does it work so incredibly well? As it turns out, the armor itself is doing way more than just protecting the probiotic. It's actually an active part of the therapy.
Okay, this is where the design gets even more clever. When the armored probiotic finally gets to the intestine, the armor doesn't just fall off. The healthy bacteria that are already in the gut start to eat the armor's inner layer. And as they digest it, they release these super beneficial compounds called short-chain fatty acids, or SCFAs, which are themselves powerful anti-inflammatories.
So what you get is this incredible synergistic effect. You have the live probiotic being released to help restore the gut's healthy ecosystem, while its own armor is breaking down into a second wave of medicine that also fights inflammation. It is a genuine one-two punch delivered by a single, tiny soldier.
So to quickly sum it all up, the probiotics are amazing, but they're vulnerable. This new two-layer armor system, built from stuff like soy and oat fiber, boosts their survival rate like you wouldn't believe. In animal tests, these armored probiotics didn't just treat severe colitis, they actually prevented it. And the secret sauce is that synergistic effect, where the armor itself becomes part of the treatment. And this research just blows the door wide open to a fascinating new future. I mean, could you imagine if we could design custom armor for different types of probiotics? We could target a whole range of gut-related diseases, from Crohn's to maybe even colorectal cancer. This kind of living, targeted medicine could completely change how we approach treating disease from the inside out.